Hi, Rene Rubalcaba with AutoNet, and today I wanted to talk about the ArcGIS API for JavaScript Web Optimizer. Now, the Web Optimizer is a tool that you can use to do customized builds of your ArcGIS applications. And the way that it works is that it will compile your application with the ArcGIS JavaScript API and the Dojo build system and all your files, and it can create a single file build of your application that you can use that will be a smaller file size than you would get from the default esrijso-CDN files, and will run a little bit quicker for your application, and it'd be a smaller footprint. And the way to do this is that you would want to sign up for an account at developers.arcgis.com. And once you've done that, you'll be able to go to jso.arcgis.com, and you'll get a pretty simple page that just will not have these modules listed. I've got a few listed at the moment, but you'll have a new build button. If you want to, you can go through the help to figure out how to do everything, but it's pretty basic. What you would do is you'll click on the new build button here, and you're going to have a few different options how you want to do things. You want to give your build a name. In our case, I would just call it test, and we'll come back to this in a minute. And you'll be able to create a build from all the way back to 3.4 up to the newest version, which right now is 3.13. And you can either upload your application as a zip file. It'll compile your custom code with the ArcGIS JavaScript API and all the Dojo bits and create a single file for you to be able to use. You can enter the URL to a published application and let it scan the application for all the required modules. Or you can go ahead and upload a list of the modules that you want to use for your custom build. Another thing you can do, which is a little bit, it works okay, but still a little bit tedious, is you can go ahead and select the modules manually from a list, and you'll have the option to start off with all the files including compact, or just go with the standard or none. That's quite a bit of a task there. But this came up because I was at the Esri Developer Summit recently, and in one of the sessions it was mentioned that you could technically create a customized build of the ArcGIS JavaScript API that did not include your custom modules, but just the ArcGIS and the Dojo modules that was specific just for your app. And if that were the case, what you could do is replace the default Esri CDN for, say, 3.13, replace it with your custom built file, and you could optimize your application that way. And I thought that was a pretty neat little hack shortcut that you could do. So the first thing I did was I tried to manually select out all the lists from my modules, and I already named it, I'll call it test 1. And this kind of became tedious, and I got bored. But of course, like all things that we as developers do, instead of trying to do it myself, I just went ahead and I wrote a tool that would do it for me. So I wrote this little node tool. It's called esrijso-modules. You can install it by doing npm install-g esrijso-modules, and it'll install a command line tool that you'll be able to use to scan your directory of JavaScript files to find all the Esri and Dojo dependencies. Now, it's not perfect. It's still early, but it does the job pretty well. And what you might want to use this for is, let's look at the configurable map viewer application that's available on GitHub here. And this is a community maintained configurable map viewer for the ArcGIS JavaScript API. It's got a ton of widgets in here. It's a pretty robust little application that works really well. I've used it a couple of times for some simple viewer stuff, but you could really do quite a bit with this. And what this does is it uses a configuration file to load the widgets. So this is an object that gets loaded in the application. If you look through here, things like the overview map, are loaded via this configuration, and it just provides a path that says Esri digit overview map. Now, if I were to try and let the ArcGIS JavaScript Web Optimizer scan this application, it won't be able to find those because they're not inside of a define method or require method, so the Dojo build system wouldn't know how to look for that. So that's another way that this would come in pretty handy, is when you have an application that dynamically loads your widgets like this. And if we look at what the total size for the download coming from the default Esri CDN for the ArcGIS JavaScript API, we're looking at around 791K gzipped, which isn't, that's a hefty file, but considering everything you're getting, it's not so bad. And 2.3 megabytes of data coming through. Now, granted, on a mobile device, this probably is not good numbers that you want to see, but on a mobile device, you're probably not going to have all of these different widgets that are being loaded at the moment. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of things happening here, all the way from editing, Google Street View, to find. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now that we're loading that maybe you wouldn't use in a mobile device. So let's see how you would use this. You could go to the directory for your application. In this case, I'm in the CMV app, and I'm going to run the esrijso-modules tool with the S flag, which means that you're going to define the give it the source directory, which in my case is called viewer. You run the tool, and it's going to tell you that it's going through a list and it's reading out these JavaScript files for you, and it's trying to find out the Esri and Dojo dependencies. And once you've done that, you can click on, it'll create this file called modules, and if we look at that file, it's gone ahead and created a comma delimited list of all the modules in your application. So this is exactly what you're going to need to upload to the ArcGIS JavaScript site. So let's look at the Web Optimizer over here. And if we go through and create a new build, and let's call this one CMV test. I'll say I want the 3.13 API, upload a module list. Let's go choose my file and do upload. It's going to tell you there's some invalid modules detected. And that's because right now the esrijso-modules tool just looks for dependencies that have the words like Esri, Dojo, Digit, and a couple other things in there. And in our case, there are a couple modules in the CMV app that have those words in them. So that's where you're going to get this error message every now and then. But don't worry about it. It'll ignore those modules and just not add them to the list. It's not going to cause any issues. So once you've done that, you can review the modules that are going to be included in your bundle. Click on Build, and you'll get a little notification of progress of your build occurring. And once it's done, you're going to go ahead and get an email sometime down in about 5 to 10 minutes to let you know the build's done. Go back to the page, and you'll have the option to upload the custom build to the cloud, to an Esri CDN that you'll be able to use to replace the default ArcGIS JavaScript in your build file, or I'm sorry, in your application. So in my case, I already have one built. I have this CMV1 here, and I'll click on the CDN URL, copy that. Let's come back to the application here. Let's go into Viewer, Index HTML, and let's go ahead and replace the default Esri CDN with our custom built one. Alright, let's go back to our application over here. Come to the Configure Map Viewer. You remember this is what was downloaded previously from the ArcGIS JavaScript API site. And if we reload the application, and we're able to get that build down to about 528K from 700 plus K gzipped, and we got down to about 1.9 megabytes total stuff transferred. So not great, but we're able to kind of get that down a little bit more, which is neat. And this is really going to come in useful for larger applications to help you get the optimized builds working for you. So go ahead and try this out. This esrijso-modules tool works out pretty well. If you find any bugs, just go ahead and post an issue. If you want to contribute, send a pull request. And Have fun developing. Thank you.